What's up? It's Josh Reese. I'm a fourth year optometry student at the Arizona College of Optometry. And part one of the optometry board exams is coming up in March. And I just wanted to make a good luck video and kind of my final advice for all of the people taking it, whether it's third or fourth year optometry students. So, my first little piece of advice for part one is that it's kind of more of a mental load than it is of a physical load. And I like to think back to the OAT. Now, when you're taking the optometry admissions test, like when you're taking it, it's a lot easier to get in your head, and it kind of can snowball things into being worse than they are. And so, just like in the OAT, most of the problems will be familiar, but you'll see some of them that are unexpected, and those can really affect your mental state where you think, did I not study hard enough? Did I not put in enough time? Why don't I know this? And the part one is going to be exactly the same. Because it's more didactic, sometimes you're going to have a question that you feel like you never saw in optometry school, you never saw in your studies, you never saw, even if you bought all the study material out there, you'll probably have problems that you feel like you've never seen before. So if you can keep your mental state like even, then you can be able to go into those problems and go through them, keeping your energy, keeping your good vibes into the next one, and not letting each bump along the way kind of slow you down. Because just like the OAT, it's a long test. It's longer than the OAT. I don't know why I keep comparing it to it. Even on the ones that you don't know at all, you can still narrow down, hopefully to, at least two. And then that's just a 50% chance you get it right, and you can move to the next one. So at worst, you can have about a 50% chance of getting one right. Now, there's some you can't narrow down, but most of them you will be able to narrow down. And so my first piece of advice is keep your mental state high or low and be able to roll through the punches, because they're not really testing you on how much you know the information. They're testing you on how to think like a doctor. And a lot of the problems are just going to be hard and difficult to think through. But if you sleep the night before and have taken your practice exams and you've been in situations like this before in optometry school, keep your motivation up. You'll be able to make it through. Which brings me into my second piece of advice, and that's kind of my general breakdown of the exam. Now, this is like a really rough breakdown because you probably already know what's on it. But what I kind of will break it down with is there's about 25% of the exam that's like, why the heck is this on the exam? This is the easiest thing I've ever seen. I'll take this win. It's an easy question. Like some, random stuff that you learned year one, maybe your first day in optometry school, there'll be some gimmies. Then about 50% of the exam is going to be stuff that's like, ugh, I studied this. This is stuff that I've been working on, stuff that I've studied. I think I have a good guess of what the answer will be. That's about 50% of the exam. And then the last 25% of the exam is going to be stuff kind of we talked about in the last bullet point of things you feel like you've never seen before or never asked in that way before. And so those are the things that you'll be able to try to narrow down. Being able to make it through as many of those problems as you can is the key to doing well on to part one. Go into the exam with as much mental preparation as you can, the sleep, breakfast the night before, taking a break off, giving yourself a treat after the exam, or maybe even in the middle of the exam, when you have the break. Make sure you're giving yourself enough grace, because everyone else taking the exam is feeling the same way that you are. These are problems almost everyone feels like they've never seen before. You're doing great. You've got this. Push through those problems and you can still make it to the end. Keep your hopes up, because it really is disheartening to see some of those things on the exam, but you can still make it through. My last piece of advice is think back to why you're here. This is a test to see if you are going to be a good doctor. You've made it through this far of optometry school. This is your preparation. You had practice exams where you're sitting in a chair, just as stressed, doing the same types of problems. You've had optometry school tests where you've been in a very similar situation and you've made it through them, you've passed. You are going to be a great optometrist. You know, even if this is not your first time taking the exam, or even if, this will not be your last time taking this exam, this is just one hurdle to be able to be, for the rest of your life, an eye doctor. And so just, take it in context. This seems like a very big deal, but it is just one hurdle to get over, and you can do it. Every eye doctor before you, they've been able to do it. They've gotten this far. All of your students in your cohort are taking it along with you. We're all in this ride together. This is just this test doesn't define you. You are going to make it through, and you are still an amazing human being no matter what this test says. And those are kind of my last pieces of advice. You've got this. I know each and one of you are very prepared, and I think that you guys are going to be great doctors one day. And I'm just so happy for this next generation of eye doctors to, go out with a bang. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye.